Hi, welcome to Nina's Bag. Nina's Bag is a podcast that I developed to create a safe space to have conversations about everything. My hope is to have Nina's Bag be a useful tool to advocate, educate, and eventually elevate people in our community. Today, we are luckily, no, I'm sorry, we are blessed to have this beautiful young lady here. Her name is Graciela Larin-McDonald. And Graciela is an amazing person. I met her after I was actually told about you several times. Alicia bragged about you so much.
Oh.
She really, really did. And you backed up everything that she said. So Graciela is a El Salvadorian American who she'll give you more of her history. But I just want to give you a little bit of her educational background. She was a Kingston High School alumni in 2012. She got her associates at Ulster Community College, beautiful. She has her bachelor's in sociology with a concentration in criminology, woman after my own heart, from SUNY New Paltz. And she eventually went on and got her master's in criminal justice, specializing in police administration. That touched me. I love that. From John Jay College of Criminal Justice. That resonates so much with me because I've taken kids to John Jay, and
Yeah.
like to hear and meet somebody that is so amazing that actually did what you did. And I think I can't wait. This is going to be good. So, I want to just introduce Graciela and let her elaborate on the things, not just your educational background,
Mhm.
but give us your story from, like, you're El Salvadorian. Were you
Mhm.
born here?
Yes, I was
Okay.
born in Queens and I was raised in Queens and Brooklyn on and off until the age of 10 when I moved to Kingston, New York.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah.
So you've lived here since 10?
Yep.
Awesome,
Yep.
awesome, awesome. We're lucky. We're blessed to have
Thank
you.
you.
So, Graciela, you work where in Kingston?
So I am employed through Family Woodstock in the domestic violence department. I started off in 2021, so I've been at Family for 4 years now.
Awesome.
I was hired as the bilingual DD specialist for our non-residential program. And then I got promoted to, it's a tricky title, but it's the Ulster County Family Court DV advocate slash assistant program director. And so my role is at Family Court is to help individuals, Spanish and English speaking, with petitions for orders of protection.
That's awesome. And a very close friend of both of ours
Mm-hmm.
now actually met you there after going through so many traumas, and I'm looking forward to having her on an upcoming show. You were so helpful to her that she came and said, "Oh my God, Nina, I met this woman, Graciela. She has the same last name as me, McDonald." And I remember that thoroughly.
Yeah.
And I remember how happy she was because she'd been through a lot. She'd been through a great deal. And she'd been through a great deal. And the funny thing about it is she sang you praises. And I was like, wow, this woman's amazing. And then I recently face to face met you.
Yeah.
And I was like, we got to have you. So who knew that many times people have jobs, but they're not relatable to the job.
Right.
They just have a job and they do their job. This is my life. My phone constantly goes off. Um, they they constantly do good work,
Mhm.
but relatability is a very meaningful thing to me in what I do with the podcast here. So I'm so glad to have you.
I'm glad to be here.
You are the work that you do is not easy.
Mhm.
Um, but your demeanor is so pleasant. Like yours, I think you were cut out for this work. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah.
So tell me about your relatability to this topic.
Absolutely. You know, as I was, talking to you before, I am a child, sexual abuse survivor, along with suicide attempt survivor. And, growing up in Queens and Brooklyn and growing up in a very religious, strict home as a Hispanic little girl, it was it was a lot. Meaning like I am the first, well, I'm the only daughter, I'm the eldest in my family. So
Big responsibility comes with that.
absolutely. So I have two younger brothers. One is 22, but he's intellectually disabled. And then my other brother, he's 18. Um, but when I was a little girl, um, like I said, I was sexually abused by my father's brother. I don't refer to him as uncle because he doesn't deserve that title. Um, and, you know, for the longest time, I was 6 years old. So ever since 6 years old till probably maybe a few years ago, I, finally was able to not blame myself.
Yeah, I understand. I totally understand that. I admire you for actually speaking about your personal situation. It's relatable to me. I was actually molested as a child as well, and I buried it, like
Mhm.
so many people do, men and women. Um, but I think there's a metamorphosis going on now,
Mhm.
and I'm really, really proud of it, and I'm encouraging it
Mhm.
that people stand up and talk about basically we break the silence so we can
Absolutely.
stop the violence. And I had this shirt on
Mhm.
for it today and I just didn't like the way it looked and I couldn't find pants to go with it. But what an important slogan, break the silence so we can actually stop the violence.
Right.
And this is something that's been going on for centuries.
Yes.
So much so that it's normalized.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
abusers normalize this. The person that did it to me, he tried to normalize it. He's like, fathers do this all the time. Like this happens, you know. And the reason why I am with you and I'm actually telling pieces of my story is because I too want to make it. I want to give strength to women, just like
Yes.
you have,
Mhm.
you know, and men, of course, because I know several young men that have endured the same madness that we have. But I appreciate you and I respect you for discussing it. And isn't it weird the way we bury it
Mhm.
and we can go on with life?
Yeah.
It's almost like,
You're an autopilot.
yeah, and you know what I realized? I realized that we're very, very strong to
Mhm.
pull that off.
Yeah.
For a child to pull off like something so violating and to go on, move on with life. But we go through trauma
Mhm.
because of that, because we bury things. And, you know, you said you recently, in the last couple of years, you actually came to the point where to grips where you could actually talk about it, discuss it, and I think that's valuable. That's a
Mhm.
valuable tool, and I'm trying to encourage women um, and men that are going through or have been abused to, you know, if you're comfortable, and it doesn't have to be with me or you, find someone that you can talk to about it.
Absolutely.
Important, right?
Very, very important.
Yeah. So, when you before you moved to this happened when you before you actually moved here to Kingston, did
Yes.
it stop when you came to Kingston?
Yes. So to give a little bit background of what happened, so I don't remember the exact. I just remember it was probably summertime because I remember exactly what I was
Weird
wearing.
things you remember.
Yep.
I
Yep.
understand.
I remember basically a lot of the details.
Yeah, we don't forget
They
those,
don't, yeah, they don't go away. And
right?
that's okay. That's okay if they don't
That's
go
why you
away.
learn to use it
Exactly.
to help others.
Yes. So I remember telling my mom, I used to have a habit of going to the bathroom with my mom while, she did her stuff.
Of course.
And so out of nowhere, I just decided to tell her what happened. Initially, my parents didn't believe me. Back then, when I was little, I didn't realize that, that them being parents, they probably did not want to believe it because something happened to their little
I've
girl.
said it, and you know, my mom struggled with it. I same thing, same thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's not. It's so crazy because I think the adults back in the day were taught don't talk about
Yes.
it. They were taught to be silent, and what happened was they encouraged people that were abusers
Yeah,
to freely continue to be abusers.
absolutely.
Yeah. So we're
Yes.
gonna change that though.
Yes. Oh, yeah. So, fast forward, um, I don't remember much about what happened after. All I know is that my parents like completely just you know, I guess you could say disowned him just, and my family in El Salvador, like they, didn't want nothing to do with the guy either. Um, Nothing was done law or criminal sidewise. And I think that's only because my parents had a friend that was a detective and she told them to not go through this whole entire process so that it wouldn't taint me for the rest of my life. However, I feel like
which is the opposite of,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't know. I obviously I had no contact with the man. But it was probably around maybe 2011, 2012 where he contacted me through Facebook in a way threatening my father. And so I showed my dad and he told me not to worry about it. I said, okay. Fast forward, I was
Wow.
prepping to leave for a church mission for 2 years. And at the time, probably a few months before I had to leave, um, my mom comes to my room. She's like, you need to see this. And so she brings me into our living room, turns on the TV, and puts on the Salvadorian news. And I just
He
see,
wasn't in Brooklyn any longer, or
sorry, I'm jumping all over the
that's
place.
okay. That's okay. I totally understand it.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure because when I want to just go back to something
sure.
when it after it happened
Hmm.
and you moved up here.
Yes.
Prior to that happening, he was still in the same area as you. So even though nobody did anything, he was still. Were you able to see him still?
No.
Not you were protected in that way. So
Yeah.
your parents probably said we'll make sure he's not around her, but he was there still, and who knows what else or who else he affected.
Yeah, so he's actually if you were to Google his name, he actually had sodomized a 5-year-old girl prior to what he did to me. And
Wow,
yeah, and so for a brief moment on that article, I thought it was me because the
it was so
description, it was
close.
so close, but he did not sodomize me. So I was like, okay,
It
that's not
wasn't
me.
you,
It
right?
wasn't me. So I was
Right,
like, okay.
but it
Um,
was prior to you.
I believe so from the
And see,
year.
the person that actually was affected, the child that was affected, if they told their parents and their parents, which did what so many parents did back then, that was just the norm. Like, "Shh, don't tell
Mm-hmm.
anybody. We'll protect her
Right.
or him,
Mm-hmm.
but this is terrible. Maybe even we'll get something done on it in a different way, but we don't want to bring any attention to this because for whatever reason the victim is taken. Um, no one wants light on the victim.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand how it worked back then. I could see why a parent would be like, I don't want this to happen to my daughter. I don't want her on top of that to be victimized in another way. So I get it.
Yeah, no, definitely. For the longest time I was very, very angry at my parents because I felt like they did not bring me
I went through that with
any
my mom.
justice. I'm like,
Hmm.
come on, like
Yeah,
um, but
but I
no,
understand
yeah.
it now more than I did then.
Yeah. So yeah, from that time that I told my parents till the time I moved to Kingston at 10, had no connection to the guy at all, never saw him again.
Thank God.
Yeah, so we moved to the Hudson Valley because at the time my middle brother was diagnosed with autism and epilepsy. So living in this city was just probably at the time not the best for my
Of
brother.
course.
So we moved up here,
Hmm.
and I've been here ever since. I'm 30 now, so I've been in
You don't
Kingston
look
for
crazy either.
20 years. Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool. So speaking of autism, I have to touch that because that's a topic that is very close to me as well. Um, I'm trying to make sure, I'm trying to make it, I know, I know. I was trying to get, thank you for that, Rashawn. I love you to death. So in each month there are different topics.
Hmm.
That was one of the topics, and I tried my best to try to figure out how to get a parent
Yeah.
and child situation. But it's very, very hard to pull that off and all the other things that I was doing. But that is very close to me because my niece was autistic as well. And there's a lot, just like domestic violence affects the whole family,
Oh, yeah.
autism affects the whole family. And it is a tremendous thing that needs a lot more light on it as
Oh
well.
my gosh, yes.
So, yeah,
Absolutely.
thank you for that. I was so like, that's why it was so good that I got you in because this is Child Abuse Awareness Month.
Yes.
And today is the last day of it. So that's why I was like,
Yes.
let me see if I can pull this off. So
Yes.
thank you so much
No, of
a million
course.
times. So, okay, this person,
Hmm.
you were separated from this person. But it makes me wonder, like me, as in all the different roles that I've had, I always thought about myself, like, who else did my father hurt?
Hmm.
Who else could he hurt?
Hmm.
And he definitely affected a lot of people.
Yeah.
In the same respect, my father was looked at as a hero
Mm.
to a lot of people because nobody knew about that dirty side of him.
Right.
Yeah, so I often wonder, like, how, I feel guilt
Hmm.
that I didn't, do more to bring it to light regardless. And, it took me 100 years, but here I am now. And it doesn't matter if it's my father, my brother, my sister. It does not matter because I'm saving so many people
Hmm.
in my mind by having these discussions, by
Yeah.
talking about it. And your work alone, like, look I can't wait till people hear about your story about how you paid it forward because you're
Yeah.
definitely doing that. Wow.
Yeah, no, like I said, I think I think what really made me become to what really inspired me to just help people was, when I was like a couple months before I was leaving for my church mission. So this was circa 2014.
Tell me about that. Wait a minute. That's crazy. Where'd you
Yeah.
do that?
So I am
Wow.
a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints,
Awesome.
sometimes known as Mormons.
Right.
And so, over 10 years ago, I served a mission. I was actually sent to El Salvador, where the
Really? That's
town, yeah, where
interesting.
my parents are
Have
from.
had you been before you did this?
Yeah. And 2005 was the last time. So it was probably like 9 years after.
What is it like?
Back then, it was a little scary just because of all the gangs, the MS gangs, and all that. They were
So
everywhere.
that's true. I don't
Oh
I don't know.
yes. Oh yes, it was scary. We had, curfew. We had to just always be aware of our surroundings,
Wow.
especially when we were going to the very like poor areas
Right.
where, they lived in
I have a
port.
friend that
Yeah.
just went home and I worry every time, like, make sure you come back,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got sick though, so I was only there for 6 months, and I came.
Only. So wait, you went there, your mission was 6 months?
Was 18. I was supposed to be there for 18 months, but I got
Wow.
sick. And so I decided to come back home, heal for 3 months, and then I was reassigned to McAllen, Texas. And so it was
How was
all
that?
that was very interesting because it was a bike mission. So we had to
Wow.
bike, but I had no idea how to learn. I had no idea
Like
how
a
to ride.
motorcycle?
No, like a bicycle. I had no idea how to ride a bicycle when I got there.
So wait, you biked, was it, what is it, McLaren?
McAllen.
McAllen, is it a
Yeah.
small town?
So the mission itself is called McAllen, but the areas we go to, like I went all the way up to Corpus Christi in Texas. And so they call it
Not
the
on a bike.
oh no. So like
So you
certain
would drive there and use the bike around as
right,
transportation.
because we were limited on miles.
Wow.
Yeah. So I
Wow.
was there for a year in the area of Texas, like the valley that they call it,
So
closer to the border of Texas and Mexico.
Corpus Christi on the bottom. Wow.
Yeah.
So tell me what you did in that mission. Like what kind of stuff would you do in a mission?
So the mission, is voluntary. So you're supposed to, save money for your own expenses and stuff like that.
Wow.
We really just teach about the word of Christ.
I thought that missions are everything is provided for you. No?
No, no, this is completely like 100% voluntary. However,
I
if
thought they were all voluntary, but I still thought that you voluntary
yeah,
meant you're
yeah,
like you're taken care of.
right. So
Wow.
like yes and no. So like obviously the missionaries that, come from not as wealthy families, the church helps them. So like they'll cover everything, and um
Did you feel like you were successful in teaching about God?
I believe so. Um we also helped people get baptized into the church. We didn't perform the baptisms ourselves, but um the men who had the priesthood to baptize um people were the one who did that.
So you did that. You did like a year there, and you did 6 months in El Salvador.
Hmm.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What a life.
Yeah.
You got stories. You got
Yeah.
different
Oh, yeah.
stories. Wow.
So prior to leaving for my mission, that's when I found out that the man who molested me was in El Salvador and he had,
When you were there,
before I went. So literally like a few months before I found out that he had murdered and dismembered his girlfriend. It was a young girl, like a 19-year-old girl. This is like a 50-something-year-old man. And then he drove an axe through the girlfriend's sister's head. And I believe the sister survived.
was it in El
Yep.
Salvador? So when you went on your mission, he was there.
Yes, but when I went, he was in prison. So
Wow.
like,
Thank God.
yes, but the scary part was
Oh,
that she was related to members of the MS gang. And so obviously they wanted blood for because he murdered their family. And so
they do.
when
That's right.
we as missionaries we have name
Holy cow.
tags and our name tags usually will be like sister or elder and then our last names. And
Wow.
so my last name, my maiden name is Larin. And so I was very scared that
Oh
the
my God.
gangs would find me and try to hurt
Whew.
me, but the gangs,
That's
they respect
crazy.
religion
So,
very much.
like, hmm, but you still went?
Yep. Yep, I
See,
still
that's
want.
when you know faith is a real thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. My, who knew? My
Yeah.
hat goes off to you again.
Oh, thank you.
Crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
So as of right now, I think he's still in prison. And
wow.
recently, I decided to request records from NYPD about what happened to me. I know it's like over
So
two
wait,
decades.
so they, how would they, so it was brought to somebody's attention?
Yes. Yes, because I recently asked my mom, like, is there anything else that happened? And she did tell me that I was given an order of protection. So I found that to be very,
So they didn't make it public to the area that you lived in, but they did protect you.
yes,
Wow.
yes. And
God
so,
bless them.
yeah,
Imagine the trauma. See, there's trauma in the parents as well.
yes,
And like and that's I always try to be well rounded when we talk about sensitive topics because um people have opinions.
mm-hmm,
Doesn't matter. It's their right to have opinions.
right,
But I really have to say that a parent is part of the trauma.
yeah,
They experience trauma, even though it wasn't done to them, their child has
right,
been traumatized. And the fact that they have to hold it, that bothers them as well. I have to, sometimes I say things, and my mom always says, well, I did the best I could. And I know that that's
yeah,
her guilt, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And it's not meant to hurt her. It's just I'm able to talk about it now,
yeah.
where I couldn't before.
Right. I feel like, back then everything was so taboo to speak about. So like
Yeah,
even
that's
growing
right.
up and wanting to share to my friends like what happened to me. At the time my parents would be like, "No, don't do that. That's not a good thing."
And it was you releasing, like that was
Right.
part of your healing. And which is a very important part of the whole trauma thing.
Yeah.
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 It's a never ending process, I think.
No, it's not.
Right.
So I'm
But just
hoping,
think how this man was really more dangerous than what even you knew.
yes. And that was the scarier part that
Holy cow.
yeah, no, this man is a pure evil. But I did request, like I said, a FOIL request of
Mm-hmm.
any records that they had at the NYPD. I was
Mm-hmm.
able to locate the precinct that handled back then. And I did get an email saying that they acknowledged my request and that I would get a response by August. So hopefully, I
So
can learn more.
that is actually a teaching point right there for anyone that might hear this. There's certain things that you can do many times when a trauma happens and there's any kind of molestation, rape, any kind of abuse, sexual abuse, whether you're a child or an adult, and you're intelligent like you to look into these things later
Mhm.
on, this is something that you can do. You
Absolutely.
can actually request documents because documents like this, they might be deep, but they should have them.
Yeah.
It should be because you never know what life's going to bring at you.
Yeah.
I have this saying, life be life, and
Oh, yes.
life be life, and so you got over one hump, and There's three more
Yep.
down the road that we don't even know about.
Yes.
So
And you're gonna trip. You're gonna trip and fall, but just like you see those track runners
very
jumping up
smart.
the hurdles and they fall, but they
That's
keep
right.
going. That to me is like that's amazing.
It's amazing that you
Yes.
went and requested that. I think that was so awesome because you could. Some people go. Excuse me. Some people try to get support and don't get it.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Sorry. Figures I'd have a coughing attack in the middle of the podcast. So tell me how. I'm so sorry. Can we pause for 1 minute? Rashawn, can you pause it for a minute? Excuse me. Sorry.
It's a
Thank you. Oh
tickle.
my God. I can't get rid
It's
of it. Okay. Here we are. Are we rolling again? Thank you so much. Well, here we are back after my little coughing attack. Thank you so much. So again, we have Graciela, Larin. I want to say it the Spanish way.
Latin.
Larin. Graciela Larin-McDonald. Here, speaking from the heart. This is her journey. And your journey is a fascinating journey. The more we talk, the more I get to see like just how you've had several different impactful things in your life and you've done a lot. You've
Yeah.
done a lot. Texas, El Salvador, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Amazing. So, um, tell me, like you were talking about, you went and got, you were smart enough to get to dig up that order of protection, which is amazing because that
Mhm.
was so many years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised that law enforcement was so good about helping you. That's great.
Yeah, no. So I found out through my mom that I had one, so
You didn't know,
I didn't know.
right?
But the prompt to seek any records from NYPD was actually a client that I helped at the court fill out an order of protection against her abuser. And
Which is
let's
one of
just
the amazing
say,
things you do.
let's just say for privacy and confidentiality, that this person's story, the way she described certain things that happened to her were very similar to what happened to me. So that just prompted me to request more information because I don't really know what happened after I spoke up.
Of course, of course. Um, and I, I want to talk really quick if we can. I'm so glad that you accomplished that because some people run into brick walls when you're dealing with
Yeah.
legality. So I'm glad that you did get that. What did you hope to gain, or what was the purpose of you getting it? For because you wanted to make sure that for future reference, because I don't know how long this person was incarcerated, but you never know.
Right. So I don't know his sentence in El Salvador. I just know that he's still there and that murder was in 2014. So it's been over
Wow.
10 years.
But still, that was a gruesome, gruesome.
Very horrible. Very, very horrible.
Hmm.
Um, but
Who and just imagine who else he hurt in
exactly,
between you and them.
exactly. And
Yeah.
that's that's the sickening part
Yep.
too.
It is.
I'm still waiting to see if the NYPD can find anything. I think it was assigned to, I can't remember the guy's name, but they said that they'll get back to me on August 12th of this year.
I think that it's great that they even responded because
Yes.
just think how big the city is. The city is one of the biggest police
Yes.
forces in the world. So, like, I admire you for going to get that. I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, no, like you know, like, what I want, it's funny, my husband even asked me, he said, "What is your end goal if you do
I
get
get it, but I wanted everybody to get it.
right?"
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm like, I know that I can if I wanted to. Like I could visit this man in prison in El Salvador, but I'm not gonna do that. I think at least knowing if there was anything done for me can bring me enough closure to just feel okay.
Yes, because so everybody deals with things differently. And I think one of the things as a victim, especially a victim that's strong enough to bury it where it doesn't affect your life. There are victims that don't that bury it but it has adverse effects.
Hmm.
There's all different things that could happen. Like, do you ever hear the expression hurt people?
Oh, yes.
I believe truly, honestly, that some of the people that commit crimes like this
Mhm.
have had it done to them. I
Mhm.
mean, and there's statistics because I
Yeah.
actually started researching because I'm like, what's wrong with the minds of people? And
Yes.
especially with, like, from my own personal experience, I actually looked at things and I saw that my father was abused.
Mm.
I don't know about the sexual part, but I know that he was physically
Right.
abused, because his mom passed away. No excuse, no
Yeah.
excuse.
No, but it's important to kind of see like the cycle of violence continuing.
That's right. The
And
understanding.
right.
I mean, it. I don't know. There was a time where I didn't. I made myself. It didn't exist.
Hmm.
My mind was powerful enough, which yours had to be as well, um, to continue on in life and do the things that we have to do to progress. I mean, you were a graduate, then you actually went on. You got your master's. That's not a mind that is a weak mind. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, thank you for
I
that.
admire you so much for that.
Yeah,
I looked
thank
at your
you.
bio. I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah, no, thank you.
So I'm glad that you actually brought up the point of looking for that because closure is not one thing that happens.
Yeah.
It's not one thing. So I want to kind of bring people to the point where how did you come into, because I have this dying need to help people.
Hmm.
I don't know what, or God, this is nothing but God
Yeah.
because I couldn't change it if I wanted to. It's
Right.
just in me. How did you get to the point of doing the job that you're doing right now, helping people? Because you are definitely helping people.
um, I honestly don't know. I know it's gonna sound so like blah, but I literally came across the job listing on Indeed and I said, okay, this sounds like it's close to the field that I'm in of criminal justice. And,
I love that you're doing that.
you
That
know,
was your field. Like,
yeah. And so it's always been my field since junior year in high school.
wow,
And so that's all I ever wanted to do.
awesome.
Um,
Did
I,
you ever want to do law?
I, no, but I've have had a lot of people tell me to be a lawyer, to become a lawyer.
That was my hope.
And I'm like, I'm good at organizing and being very meticulous about
No, I don't
details.
think you know. I don't think you can receive your capabilities because to sit and listen to somebody's story and you get stories that are as bad as your story was,
Hmm.
amazingly sick stories you hear about.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? I know you do. Um, and you help people through them,
Yeah.
and like with intensity, you help them. I know you helped my friend with intensity because you were probably one of the biggest up points that through her all of her misery, because she went to agency after agency after agency, and that's another thing. Like your parents didn't actually go to an agency. My
Right.
mother didn't go to an agency, of course, but there are people that do,
Hmm.
and they don't get the support that they need to find out the family of Woodstock today in this time has somebody like you is like a gift from God, literally.
Oh, thank you.
It really is. It really,
Thank
really is.
you.
No, I I can't wait to see Michael Berg. Shout out to you, Michael Berg, because and Karen Storch. Karen, you know you're my girl anyways. You got somebody really good here, and I know you already know that. So, yeah.
No, thank you. Like you were saying, there's a lot of people who have come to me or, when they come into my office at the court and they say nobody believes me or
Does that happen often?
a lot. And it's sad, especially, with law enforcement, from the criminal justice aspect, I get it. I get that evidence needs to be very clear.
Tell me the aspect of your hope, your desire for criminal justice. I didn't mean to take you off track,
No, 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 you're
but it
fine.
just touched.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, I obviously at SUNY New Paltz they only had sociology and a concentration of criminology. And in concentration criminology, you just really learn about the theories of why offenders offend. And now at John
now
Jay,
I see the
yeah,
sociology
yeah,
piece.
I specialized in police administration, and the reason why I chose that specialization, there was like four other ones, was
That's what I wanted
yeah,
to know.
was
Yeah.
because I was employed at Family Woodstock, so I was going to school full time and my job full time,
Oh my
and
God.
so working in a DV.
How? How are
don't
you doing
know.
that? Oh my
I
goodness.
really don't know, to be honest. But working in the field, I just saw so many discrepancies between law enforcement and DV and mental health and
There are a lot of breaks. Um, and you are a gap filler.
yeah, yeah.
You fill the gap between because just for like my friend and yours to come and say, nobody's helped me. I've gone to these different
Hmm.
agencies, and it's not to say anything negative, but honestly, we have to actually talk about that because
Absolutely.
I think that things that happen that slip through the cracks are because there's no action.
Yeah.
There's no real action, and there are gaps, you
Right.
know. And when somebody comes to you after saying, "I did this, this, and this,"
Hmm.
and you say, "Well, let's get you an order of protection.
Hmm.
Let me help you fill out a document because that is one of the things you do."
Yes.
Yeah, see, priceless.
Yeah. So yeah. So I just felt, in all my courses, we had to, either prepare like a fake like training for police. And so I used the DV field.
Awesome.
And not only that,
Smart.
strongly,
She's smart.
I strongly believe that, you know, law enforcement needs more training with DV and mental health, but also because of my brother and something that happened to him with the police, I strongly believe that law enforcement needs greater training in dealing with individuals with intellectual disabilities, especially through
That's one of my
nonverbal.
mom's biggest fears. When my niece, God bless her, was living with my mother, she feared if she got out, what would happen? Would
Right.
she be mistaken because she's different,
Yeah.
that she's doing something wrong, and would no, somebody not have the patience to like really look
Right.
into, wait, are you okay? Instead of like, yeah, that's a very scary thing.
It is.
And there's never, ever, ever enough training.
Yeah.
I actually saw a police officer yesterday that is amazing, amazing. I
Mm.
was so happy to see him, and you know who you are. We might have to pull you on this show. Oh,
Ooh.
sorry, we might have to pull you on this show because truth is the truth. Like training is something that should never, ever, ever, ever
Right.
stop, especially for cases of domestic violence and because I hear so many stories, and do you as well hear stories about women that have they go to somebody, to an official or law enforcement or somebody, and they laugh and joke sometimes, or
Yes.
they cater to the person that is the abuser.
100%.
What that I hear that so much that like I get chills
Yeah.
from it. Like you might be putting that woman in a situation or
Right.
that man in a
Right.
situation where he's going to be abused again.
Right. And like, m- I have a huge passion. I always say justice needs to be served rightfully. And, whether it's big or small, every victim, regardless of what you're a victim of, deserves justice. And there's
Right.
nothing more that boils my blood to hear, oh, the police officer said that because he or she did not see any marks on me, nothing happened. But I was strangled. I was,
You know, I think I'd like to think, maybe we need to do another side of this,
yeah.
another segment that looks at the other side because advocate, educate, elevate. And I believe in
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
sincerely. I think that people like you, people that are willing to have a conversation about this
Mm-hmm.
and a sincere conversation, we're helping somebody.
Yeah.
Guarantee we're helping somebody. Your level of intelligence after going through what you experienced and the fact that you are helping people, there has to be healing in that. There has to be some healing in that for you as
Yeah.
well.
I
You know,
always, I would always tell myself, I couldn't get justice for myself, so I have to get justice for somebody else, and that's
wow,
my motto of life. And if I
wow,
can just bring a tiny bit of justice to somebody,
wow.
that's fine with me.
I know you're going to. I know you have because somebody that you helped was able to get an order of protection, and you never know what people will do.
Yeah.
Sometimes people take threats like, yeah, they're not going to do anything, but
Yeah.
look what happens.
Right.
Wow. Amazing. So tell me a little bit more about how did you, so, all right, you were going to school. How did you get to this position with, You said initially you were the bilingual
Yeah.
person.
Yes.
What made them know that you needed to, oh, did you look this position up as well?
The court one?
Yeah,
No, 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 no.
because it's
So,
perfect.
yeah.
Like,
So our previous court advocate before me, she decided to leave the agency and move somewhere else, you know. And so I wanted to take a different approach to the DV field.
I love it.
I believe that I do better work in I guess this area of the field that I'm
Right.
in than case management and counseling. I think I'm more of like, let's go, 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 let's do this, you
You're a
know.
mover and shaker. You're not like, well,
Yeah,
the formalities are, you're not one of those people. I don't
no,
get that.
no. I try not to break the rules, but
No,
if
but
it might
like
ensure someone's safety.
you're truly helping people. You know what I mean? So can you just explain for those, um, if you can just explain for the women out there that will watch this, what you're doing, what your job consists of. Like, how do you help a victim that comes in that's been going through processes, legalities, and
Yeah.
what do you do?
So my main role is to basically assist and create a petition for an order of protection, and that consists of I use the online portal, and it kind of just like I type in answers, and it just creates a very beautiful like petition that looks like an actual court document.
Awesome.
Um, I normally, people who come, they're very scared, rightfully so. They're very shaken up. And just being in the court itself is not always a
Yeah,
pleasant experience. So
yeah, definitely.
I try to make my office as homey as possible so that people can feel more comfortable
Right.
telling, some of the worst times in their life.
Does your relatability, do you think that your relatability is a benefit to the people that come in because you can empathize for them?
I would say so.
Yeah.
I would hope so.
No, I can't see it not helping.
Yeah, no, especially if, they're reporting like, either sexual abuse or something related to that,
Right.
and they'll say like, "Oh, it's whatever." I'm like, "No, it's not whatever."
Because they've run into all these roadblocks and
Right.
I can understand how people do you have so one of the things that's very, very important to me is how things vary from for people of color. The Latino population pops up in my mind a lot, and the Black population because we are taught not to talk about these things.
Mhm.
We are taught not to tell, especially an agency, about these things.
Yes.
So do you get Latino and Black people
Hmm.
in?
Yes, we do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm surprised and I'm glad about. I'm not glad that they're victims, but I'm glad that you do get that people do find their way to you. Because
Yes, I think the word is actually spreading that there's a bilingual court advocate, and so,
awesome.
yeah, people know that I'm there, which is,
That's so cool
great.
because oh, sometimes people don't like I had an experience after my one experience where our my childhood pastor
Hmm.
kissed me, tried to put his tongue in my mouth,
Hmm.
and I was probably 11. Yeah, and I remember freaking out and nobody wanted to believe me.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Was that a holy kid?" Like
That was not a holy kid.
I was like, "Whoa." And I left that church. I told my mom, I don't care what you say, because my mother could put fear in us without even spanking us. She'd be like, "You're going to church." We knew we had to do it. That's what it was. I said, "I'm going to go to Aunt Rosie's church then, because I'm not
Right.
going to this church." And I remember after coming home from college, I remember hearing about this pastor, and he did it to somebody else. So this is why we do what we do. Women, I know that this is a very, very horrifying and uncomfortable topic, but this beautiful woman, Graciela, I think that it's so magical that you are, it's almost like God placed you. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I'm telling you, Alicia was so happy that she met you. She was like, oh my God, Nina. I get chills every time I say
Oh.
it. Oh my God, Nina, I met this woman that was so helpful to me. You have to see what she did. She helped me. She helped me fill out the form and everything. And I was like, there's a person that does that? I couldn't believe it. and you're FOW and you work right in the court system.
Yes, so I see everything if I'm, looking, but I
Wow.
am very vocal about the court culture. And today I attended a training and I said, I don't care if I make enemies in this county. People need to speak up, and if I have to be the one to speak up about what happens in court and how judges are treating victims, I will say it
That's beautiful.
because it's not okay.
It's not okay. And this is part of breaking the silence because it's not to target anybody in any
Right.
position. It is to make sure that the violence that happens so much, the percentage of women that are violated is astronomical. It's not getting better, it's getting worse.
Right.
Or either we're just revealing more. I'm not sure which it is, but it should not happen. It just shouldn't
Yeah.
happen,
And
especially in kids.
right. Oh God, yeah.
Like, no kid should have that as a way of starting their life, you know.
No, because then the cycle of violence may continue because of, adverse childhood experiences, ACEs. And so I hate to use this phrase, but it's almost like monkey see, monkey do. It's like all I know is abuse. So that's how I'm going to
It makes you
communicate.
feel like, oh, this is what we're supposed to do.
Right.
And there, I had an event where somebody actually talked about that. Oh, because their abuser will say that they love them
Mm-hmm.
and they make them think that this is okay, this is normal. It's not normal, but to all the women and all the men, because there are a lot of men that are abused as young men, and I want to never leave that out. I I understand how you feel, and if there's anything that I can do or any direction that I could point you in, I would love to be a part of that or do that for you because don't hold on to it because it
Mm-hmm.
ruins lives.
Oh God, literally at this training, we learned, I can even pull up my note real
It
quick.
devastates lives.
It, boys are the biggest group of targeted victims of sextortion. And so
People
we,
don't know that, and that's see,
yes.
it's
No,
amazing
yeah.
when you look up the rates and the percentages of victims, and it is very very surprising, and it's very hard to get men, to talk about it because I had one amazing student from New Paltz that said his struggle was that he was abused, I believe, by his uncle, and he said, "I'm not gay. Why is he doing this to me? I'm not gay." And that alone will stop somebody from getting support.
I wonder if it's the same kid I talked to about a year or two ago. We did a tabling event for Take Back the Night at New Paltz, and everyone got up to share their stories, and I shared mine briefly. And I had this young man come to me, and
Was he Latino?
yeah.
Wow. If you get his number, I need his number. I've been
Oh,
trying,
I don't even remember his name.
I remember it. I've been trying to reach out to him because I took them to Albany. We did a session in Albany because we actually did a session at the Y also. And I can't tell you the countless people. If you hear this, if you see this, the countless people that have come to me and said, there were two young men. They were like, they are amazing,
Mhm.
brave young men.
Yeah,
And it happens, not just to them, even though it feels like you're singled out. Everyone that has it happen, you feel like you're the only person and you're afraid and you're embarrassed. But then the person that's abusing just goes on
right.
and life
Game goes on.
continues. Yeah, it's not right. It's just
Yeah.
not right. So
And same with like men who are victims of domestic violence. And it's like I had this one client who an ex-partner was severely stalking him. And I mean stalking him to the point where
there are levels
3
that
in the
are
morning
stop
throwing
believing.
rocks at their apartment. And he said, I'm a black man. If I do anything against
Anything.
her, I will go to jail.
Yeah, and
You
sometimes
know?
an abuser knows that. Abusers
Yes.
are some of the very smartest people, but we as a society have to change the way we are helping the victim. I'm sorry,
Mhm.
helping the abuser to continue to abuse.
Right.
So, like the fact that that black man can come and talk to you
Yeah.
about that, you have a good ear. You're gonna help people. You have helped people, just simply because it's hard for a black man to say that to somebody.
Oh, yes.
Like I know if I do anything, I'm getting locked up.
Yeah.
It's a true statement.
Right.
That means he's contemplated, but that woman gets to continue to do what she's doing to harass him because he feels like he has no recourse.
Yeah, no, and like for him to say that he feels like the stalking might, become lethal, I said to him,
That's crazy.
yeah, yeah, because
People don't see that it could happen. It can
yes, it
definitely
can happen.
happen.
It can happen for all, different types of, genders.
That's right.
Um,
Nationalities.
it doesn't matter if you come from a wealthy home or
That's right.
a middle class
And
home,
I'm
low
glad you
income.
brought that point up too.
Yeah, like violence happens to anyone.
It does. It does not discriminate
No, it doesn't.
status, anything. Like,
Hmm.
yeah. Um, I remember when I started looking into this, really looking into this, I was surprised to know the number of women that were having abuse from people that we look at as good people in society. So it does not discriminate. Like law enforcement, and that's no dig to law
Yeah.
enforcement, but there are a lot of women that are abused in situations like that, and they're the people that we call. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it's very tricky. It's very very tricky, and to have the intelligence to stay on the topic that we are going to break the silence, regardless of what the situation is. It should not happen.
I'm actually glad you brought that up because I've had, I think, about maybe a handful of cases where the abuser is connected somehow to either the local fire department or the local police department. And then when those orders get transferred to that police department from the court, they will, there's been times where the officers will inform the abuser before it's served.
Right?
And that already that's not only
It's
unethical,
dangerous,
it's
actually.
extremely dangerous.
Because that person can go back to the person that they've been abusing, and they can say, you're embarrassing me.
Mhm.
That actually happened with the case that for one of my future guests. The person, the abuser, was protected. She called the police, and he chatted with them after. I mean, yeah, they were like shooting it with him like they were old bowling
Yeah,
buddies. You know
yeah,
what I mean? And she felt like there's nothing I can do. You know what I
right.
mean? So
Absolutely.
yeah, it's just really, really sad. People sometimes, we are very judgmental as people, and I think we should think about this. When you
Hmm.
see somebody that I know there are communities that will talk about the person that's being abused.
Yeah.
He be beating her behind, but that is not a game because you can read about that woman. You can read about that woman. I remember when I lived in this apartment building, um, I would hear I heard a guy beating a girl up in another apartment next to us. And my husband at the time was like, mind your business. And I said, absolutely not. And I went and I banged on the
Oh
door
God.
of the guy of the apartment. And I remember my looking over at my husband in our doorway saying, "Get over." Like he was mad because he thought that he's gonna end up fighting this
Right,
guy
right, right.
because if he says something to me, he's gonna. I said, I don't. I was saying, I don't care what you say. I banged on the door, and when the guy opened the door, he was mad at me because you're disturbing me from whooping this woman's behind. And I
Right.
said, if you put your hands on her again, I'm coming in there. We're gonna fight. My husband was like,
Oh God.
so the guy was so shocked that I stood up
Yes.
for her. He was like, oh, no, no, we were just arguing. We're not fighting. I'm like, I heard you hit. I started arguing with him.
You're
I
like, you're
think
not
I
gonna
threw him
let
off.
it. Right.
I threw him off, so that ended that. And I remember laughing with the girl years later, like, I remember you stood up for me, Nina. And I was like, yeah, no. I was hearing like skin to skin. No, I'm
Yeah,
not doing that. Not doing that. So our work carries on.
it sure does.
I'm so proud of you, and I'm so happy that you gave me the time to come and talk to me. And I think, no, I know that we're going to be doing something, you and I, because you are a
Absolutely.
force. You're
Thank you.
definitely a force. Thank you for what you do because filling out paperwork is a scary thing. Do you know how scary it is for a woman to come to make it to your office?
Oh yeah.
Just to get the, I'm going to really go,
Yeah.
just to go into the court. I've been to court with countless people.
Hmm.
So much so that sometimes when the judges see me, they're like, okay, and your name is, how they have to ask your
Yeah.
name, but they know that I'm a decent person.
You're
Like I'm
right.
not there to be mean to you. I'm just advocating for this person.
Right.
Yeah, so I appreciate you for your advocacy and all of your trips that you took to help people like through your religious
Hmm.
experiences. What a brave soul you are.
Thank you.
Wow. Wow. I look forward to working with you again, and thank you for
Yes.
coming. Is there anything that you'd like to say? Look at that camera with your pretty face, and just and give advice to women that have kids that have experienced what you've experienced and I've experienced, and even women that experience it themselves. What would you say to them?
You know, I would just say that for starters, you're not alone. And even if you are struggling to find someone that can actually support you in the way that you need, keep trying. You're going to find that one person that will do everything that they can to help you. And
Beautiful.
whether it might take a year or two, a decade, keep trying because that's
Yes.
all we can do in this life is to keep trying and use your stories, your experiences to help others because then
Yes.
that in a way brings healing. And as they say, healing is not linear, but healing doesn't have to be what it sounds like.
That's exactly right. Wow. You're amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You're
Shout out to
amazing. I wish I could
Rashawn.
make the camera go on your cute face. Thank you so much. Dot, dot, dot. Let's see what's in Nina's bag next. Thank you so much. You're amazing. I wish I could make the